Om Swamiji. How can I know if I am advancing in the spiritual path? Many times it feels like I am mostly going backwards.
If you practice, how do you know that you advance on the spiritual path? For us, the spiritual path is the path of yoga, the path of Vedanta, karma yoga, selfless service to our fellow being, to serve others, but not to desire any rewards for the service, just to serve, to do good, to be good, to do good, to serve. Every day, whenever there is an opportunity to serve, to practice karma yoga, we call this karma yoga, bhakti yoga, to repeat the mantra, to chant the mantra, kirtan, to chant, to do some devotional practices, to pray. Raja Yoga. Very important to lead an ethical life, to practice the yamas and yamas of Raja Yoga, to lead an ethical life, a pure life. It's difficult, but it's worthwhile. Most important to practice yoga asanas, to practice the yogic postures regularly, to practice pranayama, the breathing techniques, regularly, to meditate regularly. You don't have to do it much, but every day. And finally, to study books that speak about spiritual liberation. We call them scriptures of liberation, like the Bhagavad Gita, like the Bliss Divine written by Swami Shivananda, like the complete illustrated book of yoga, like the meditation and mantras book, on a daily basis. Maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, or during the day whenever you can. Just you can carry with you the Bhagavad Gita and the Viveka Chudamani and just read a little bit. So the first sign of spiritual progress is the regular practice and the fruits of the regular practice. You get inspired. The most important thing is satsanga, to be in the company of practitioners, to practice together in a group. If there is a yoga center, you can visit the yoga center or come to an ashram. Nowadays, it's possible to do it by Zoom. But the first sign of spiritual progress is when the practice becomes regular and we become inspired through the practice. Very important to have a teacher. The Chandogya Upanishad says, the person that has a teacher knows, the person that does not have a teacher doesn't know. It's very important to have a teacher. Then with the help of the teacher, we can progress. The teacher also can help us to persevere in the practice. The practice also includes our daily life. In our daily life, what we can do, we can practice karma yoga, we can practice the yamas and yamas, we can lead a ethical and pure life. We can feel every day a small spiritual diary. Swami Shivananda designed a spiritual diary. He wrote a nice book called Sure Ways for Success in Life and God Realization. This book is a very nice book to read daily. You don't need to read much, just a little for inspiration. As you do it day by day, you're going to progress. There are a few things that we need to pay attention to. Food. Food is very important. Food builds the mind. We need to learn to eat food that is nutritious, tasty, fresh, but the yogis recommend vegetarian food. Vegetarian food, first of all, we need to learn not to kill animals. And when we eat vegetarian food, you can study about it a little bit by eating vegetarian food in a pure way. That food eaten and being offered to the Supreme Being before eating it, turning it into prasad, the food will gradually build a good and pure mind. So, and the food, we don't have to eat a lot. We eat food in moderate quantities, but it's important that the food will be beautiful as much as possible, tasty, fresh, healthy. Even if we need to cook ourselves, or even if we go and we buy food, it's better to eat food sitting. We need to think about food as we think about a ritual. We need to respect the act of eating. Yogis are teaching us to learn to eat in silence, but even if we socialize while eating, still it's better to eat while sitting if possible, and to pay attention to what we put into the body, because it builds also the mind. So food is something to pay attention to. The other thing that we need to pay attention to is sleep. How we go to sleep is very important. What time of the day we go to sleep is very important. Even more important is when we wake up. If possible, yogis recommend to go to sleep somewhere, if you can. Sometimes it's not possible, but somewhere between 10 and 11 p.m. and to wake up at the early morning hours around sunrise. So let's say around 5:30, 6 a.m. The main thing is to wake up at sunrise, to go to sleep around 10 p.m. 11 p.m. is also okay, but somewhere there. And to try to sleep at least 6 hours a night, sometimes 7 hours, and then to wake up fresh. And the first thing that we do when we wake up, we wash, and immediately we sit for meditation. Meditation does not have to be long. Immediately we sit for meditation. Sometimes in the beginning, before meditation, we may do few rounds of Surya Namaskar, of sun salutation, and then we may do the headstand that brings a fresh and nice supply of blood to the whole body. And then afterwards, we can do few rounds of Kapalabhati, few rounds of Anuloma Viloma, alternate nostril breathing. Then we meditate for a few minutes. And then we lie on our back and we do the relaxation as I taught you. And then we go to the business of the day. So if there is a need to wake up a little earlier in order to do this short practice, we need to try to do it. Even if you are at home, a good practice is just to take a small corner of the home and to put a little curtain, to build a small altar, to have a seat, to offer light, some incense, to put some fresh flowers, some fruits. And if you can have a small harmonium, even to chant if you can. If not, in that space of practice, to meditate daily. And the same thing we do at night before we go to sleep, just a few minutes, that's all. One of my teachers taught me, practice makes perfect. In fact, the first disciple of Swami Shivananda, a very great disciple of Swami Shivananda that I met. I met that disciple of Swami Shivananda when I was 9 years old. And you can imagine, I was a child and I went to hear his lecture. That was the great Swami Venkateshananda. And I was a child, it was in a theater, and he gave a lecture, and then he was on a stage with his assistants, and then he told the people that now they can ask questions. So again, although I was 9 years old, I didn't feel that I am a little boy. This is not how I felt. I felt like everyone else. I didn't feel, oh, I am small and I don't know anything. Not like this. So I raised my hand and I asked him how to become a yogi. This was my question. Then he looked at me, he smiled, and he answered using 3 words: practice, practice, practice. This is what he said. And then he continued. He did other things. Then I met him many years after. I was already a Swami, and I was in the location that he visited, so I was invited to come to his room, and I sat. After saluting him, he was sitting in his bed, and I asked him, actually it's not me, I'm not the one that asked, there was another Swami with me. The Swami, let's put it this way, I was a Swami, I just became a Swami a few years before. So I asked him how to be a good Swami. Now, I knew him for many years, and he knew me. But when I asked him how to be a good Swami, he became very stern in a sense. He looked at me and he said, this question should be addressed to whoever initiated you into sannyasa. Of course, my guru is Swami Vishnudevananda. Swami Vishnudevananda initiated me into sannyasa. He was a guru by Swami Venkateshananda and Swamiji. Both of them were direct and close disciples of Swami Shivananda. And Swami Venkateshananda told me, this question you need to address to whoever initiated you. So, I don't forget this answer. But then the other Swami that was with me asked him, is there such a thing as instant enlightenment? He was sitting in his bed. He looked, he smiled, and there was a light. There was, near the bed there was a light. So he pushed the button, and the light came. And he pointed towards the light, and he said, you see, instant enlightenment. He just pushed the button. You see, instant enlightenment. He said, but before you can have instant enlightenment, people had to work very hard. They had to build, first of all, a powerhouse. Then they have to build the lines that carry on the electricity. Then someone had to build this lamp. Someone had to produce the bulb. So many things have to be done before I could push the button and we could have instant enlightenment. He said, telling that Swami, this is how instant enlightenment is. Instant enlightenment comes after long and hard work. The questioner asked, how do I know that I progress in my spiritual life. The first sign is enthusiasm in your yogic practice, perseverance, enthusiasm in your yogic practice. There comes a point when we go to sleep and we think, I can't wait to wake up so I can practice. Something like this. Inspiration in the practice. So, inspiration in the practice, perseverance, joy in the practice. This is a very important sign, joy. They come by practicing regularly. There are many obstacles. There are physical obstacles, mental obstacles, environmental obstacles. We need with patience to overcome them. There is boredom. We become bored with the practice. The mind does not like to do the same things again and again. We need to be patient and overcome boredom. But if we persevere and we practice regularly for a few months and we lead a reasonable, good yogic life, that inspiration, that enthusiasm is going to manifest. When it manifests, the practice becomes a joy, a great joy. And even if there is physical pain, even if there are psychological disturbances, the spiritual joy is going to overcome them easily. But the main thing is the practice. One thing we need to remember, in yoga we learn that by giving we receive. The reason why we receive teaching, money, wealth, whatever we receive, food, is because in the past we gave. We taught people good teachings. We distributed food to hungry people. We built homes for people that had no shelter. We served others. When someone was sick, we took care of that someone. When someone was lonely, we gave them company, good company. Because of it, in the present, when we are sick, people take care of us. We are not hungry because people are feeding us like this. Similarly, we receive teachings because we have taught. We gave teaching because of it. We receive teaching. Receiving teaching is so important. And therefore, we encourage everyone to become a yoga teacher, to teach, to teach, to teach. This is great service to humanity, teaching yoga. So we encourage people, become a yoga teacher. Whatever you know in the field of yoga, share with others. As we do it, by serving, we become inspired. Karma yoga is a great yoga. The more we serve, doesn't matter what we do. Let's say we clean the bathroom. If we do it with all of our heart, like we put all of our heart, we think someone is going to come to a clean, beautiful bathroom, going to get inspired. Someone is going to eat food, beautiful food is being served. It's going to get inspired. The more good we do, the more good we receive. This is called karma yoga. So, karma yoga is the foundation yoga. The more we serve, the more we are going to experience joy, the more we are going to experience peace, the more we are going to experience many good things coming into our life. And eventually our own guru is going to show up. But For this to happen, we need to serve humanity. So many ways to serve humanity, but a great way to serve humanity is by teaching yoga. So, I have been in this organization for 45 years. Those that are with me know that I'm as enthusiastic as I was in the beginning and much more. I don't feel fatigued by this. I feel every day that passes brings more and more and more inspiration. Any person that is practicing yoga regularly is going to. Yoga brings fruits and good fruits for certain. So Swami Venkateshananda, when I was 9 years old, looked at me and said, practice, practice, practice. 3 words, that's it. I remember them now. I'm 65 years old. You can imagine how many years. And I remember this as it was today, as if it was today. And so the secret of joy, the secret of yogic joy, of yogic inspiration, of yogic progress is yogic practice. We don't have to practice much every day. We just need to practice regularly and we need to be intelligent in our practice. We should try not to burn ourselves out in the practice. But one thing we need to try to our level best to persevere, to practice daily, to practice daily, to practice daily. And I can tell you because I saw this with my own eyes for so many years. Whether you are young, or you are old, or you are a child, or you are sick, or you have some physical problems, or even psychological problems, if you practice yoga, you are going to get better in in every single aspect of your life. This is certain. So, this is my answer to how do you know that you advance. Om.